Welcome back. Hmm, turn that down in my ear. Okay, we are picking back up on Call of Antia, a match 3 game that, for lack of a better description, seems to maybe have lost a bit of a plot. It's There have been questionable decisions made, and I went over some of those decisions earlier in a previous stream, so we'll try and recap. Advertisements implemented through applications where the user has no control over the server that the applications come from are a bad thing, and Call of Antia has implemented such advertisements within its game. Uh, some of the other things it's done is it's changed up the attacks and enemies that enemies face, putting an emphasis on pay to play or pay to win characters, where some challenges can only be accomplished if you have a specific character that will cost, in all likelihood, real money to obtain. And because this is a gotcha style game, you can probably put an emphasis on gotcha. To the point that some players on the Discord channel are openly calling this now a scam. Uh, Other changes that are made is that because the Call of Intia developers are the ones who set the prices, all of the store prices and special offers and discounted or percentage boost is effectively meaningless. It means absolutely nothing because the price is set by the developers. There's no external entity setting a price or setting a value. All right. Other immediate problems, the friends list. You can have more friends, up to 40 friends, and your points, you can only claim 20 of 20 points a day. So, in theory, you can only claim half of the possible friends point that could be attributed, that could be collected, which again seems a little sketchy. I'm not sure if there's a reason for doing that other than some kind of currency price control. Um, So, recapping other problems. Another problem is when you play a hero trial, which we'll take a quick look at one. When you play a hero trial, the Naya stones, which is this game's versions of gems, uh, are set to repopulate for the primary colors of the characters that are being played. So, if you were playing, I'll do a hero trial on Sammy, who's a purple. If I run the Sammy hero trial, we'll do that real quickly. We'll give ourselves a dragon. We'll go and let this load up. We see that we have a startling amount of purple Nea stones, and as we roll through playing, we see that there is an overabundance of purple stones that are injected into uh, the field of play, so that there is always a steady stream of gems to make these particular characters, or at least the characters that are probably on the field of play, look better than they might look inside of normal play. Now, this can be accomplished through hidden weapon skills. Crucially, when you start a hero trial, there is no specific way to change or see what weapons that any particular character has at that point in time. So that could be one way that the developers, Call of Antia developers, are ensuring that there is a plentiful supply of purple Nea stones without actually having to change any other mechanics that are baked into the system itself. All right, so again, it's a little shady. It gives you an inflated view of what the characters could plausibly achieve in a game scenario. Not necessarily accurate, but not necessarily inaccurate. Again, it seems a little sketchy. So, what would this actually look like in a real play scenario for someone who's not running a rigged example? They're playing for themselves. Well, we'll do a surging ships, and this is another. The matchmaking is broken. My character power is not really that high, only in like mid 40s. But a quick look at on the Isle of Death server that I'm currently on, I'm up against ships ranging from there's a 68 to, and I may be the lowest player on here. So for all practicality in the matchmaking system, I have very little chance of competing against most of the players that are on there. We see that Tolo 666 here, their average rating is given as 40618, but if I click on them, first team is 43657, second team is 42006, third team is 36195. So comparatively to my teams, I may or may not have a very good chance of beating this player. Here's another one. Our rating is given as 44659. We're seeing 49672, 44084, 40222. So sometimes it doesn't feel like we're actually looking at like we should be looking at a mathematical average. We should probably be looking at the mean amount of power difference between teams. So just for um, example's sake, we'll go for Tolo since I may be able to take on most of his builds, and we can see in practice what a series of real play scenarios look like. Now, we got a early jump on blue, so we're going to try and use that to take out uh, and there's a reason I'm trying to take her out first, but you can kind of see one of the things that I'm on about, that the Naya stones that come onto the board don't necessarily come on any order or favor any particular teammate or it's kind of a bit of a problem here. I mean, as in a legitimate, actual problem, in that the real play, you can get locked up on one side of the board and have absolutely no way to attack on the other side of the board. And unless you have a character that changes the layout of the Naya stones while you're playing, you can't actually really do anything. You can get locked out of one side of the board or the other. Now, it's maybe not as big as a problem as it could be, simply because this is, for a match game, a relatively small board to work from. So we'll keep moving on. All right. We've got to worry about Mary in this one, and we've got to worry about... Okay, I need to focus on Mary first. Okay, got Mary out of the way. I may have a shot at pulling this off. No, didn't quite work. Yeah, don't think I'm winning this one either. But again, it's you get locked out of the board that you're running on, and if you don't have, and this is another big problem, at least overall, is that if you don't have a certain set of characters who can counter a very specific set of circumstances, like you have to have a character that shuts off an enemy's regeneration. You also have basically you need somebody who can shut Jane down if you're in a match against Jane. And the character I had for that round that could shut Jane down wasn't able to shut Jane down in time. So you have to focus on very specific set of characters who have a very specific set of utilities. And right now in this one, we've got two healers. We've got the green guy on the far right, and we have the one in the middle. I know I really could have. That was probably a wasted attack. But I think I can pull this out. Okay, yeah. Okay, I can shut him down. And oh, nope. Let's go back to her. Okay. I'll at least pull one victory out of this. Maybe. I got 2 minutes to go. I should be able to generate enough DPS too. All right, there we go. Yep. One victory. Okay, but maybe that gives you an idea of some of the problems with a small board, a small match board, and if you don't have the exact character live, you can get locked up in just playing one specific side of the board, unable to affect the other side of the board, and there's no inbuilt mechanic that opens up the other side of the board unless somehow you get a rating or you get a certain set of Neostone that gives you something that can then um, affect the other side of the board. And there's no way that I found that you can affect how the Neo board sets during the middle of a fight outside of skills. I cannot find a way to replicate the behavior that I observe in the hero trials, where you are almost assured that you will always get a specific number of Neostone to make the characters in the hero trials look good from the stones that you get. You do get lots of characters that can manipulate the board or do something with the board or give you extra powers, but you can still get locked out and you don't really have a lot of board to work with. And that's a mechanical problem. All right. So I've kind of gone over between the three streams everything that I think Call of Antia has done that's not so great. How would I fix this from a design standpoint? I don't have an answer. I mean, I really don't have an answer. For one, I'm not sure that I correctly understand the economies of scale of how this game is financed. It's not really reliant on advertising, but the fact that they've implemented advertising very recently as a means to supplement their income tells me that not a lot of players are actually buying things from the market. If you don't have a lot of players buying things from your market and you're having to implement advertising to make up a financial shortfall, you should probably really think about dropping the prices of what you're asking for in your market and really knock off these special sales where you have um, you will look at perks where it says 200% value. No, just make that sale value the actual price. Because that's what you really want consumers to do. You want your consumer to buy into your game and go, well, this is cheap enough for me to really think about it. Um, but if you're selling things that scale all the way up to $100 in one go on a mobile app, you're really going after whales. You're not going after a sustainable player base. You're going after a fickle audience that, well, they may give you a lot of money for a short time, but then when something newer comes along, they're just going to go spend their money on that. You're not cultivating a group that will hang with you, give you feedback, tell you what's working, what's not working. And that can be very demotivating. And I'm seeing it a lot in the Call of Antia Discord. A number of players are saying, I'm out. This isn't worth it. You're changing things. You're taking powers away. You're changing powers. You're not. Recently, there was a survey where one of the characters, I singled her out early because she's got a healing component. Gwenda. Gwenda uh, was given a proposed revamp. Now, personally, I like this present character design. Um, she looks like she would not be entirely out of place in something like, say, Grandia. She looks like a battle maiden. She looks the part, but what they had come up for, to replace her with did not convey a menacing. I'm gonna I'm gonna beat your butt in a holy beatdown. And, well, that was redundant. And there was another couple of changes where they talked about changing the overland map, how the game was presented, and kind of going, I'm not really okay, we get it. Not every developer is good at every task. Your star artist who can come up with lots of great illustrations may not be able to do anything about gem balance or actually writing code. Your premier designer who can come up with how things are supposed to be balanced or what feels good to play may be less useful than a sack full of monkeys all handed automatic nail guns in trying to do something outside of their wheelhouse. So you do try, if you have a small development team, you kind of do want everyone to focus on what they are good at. So if this means you wind up with a whole raft of new characters incoming and different costume designs, well, embrace that. Start selling costume changes and weapon theme changes for, like a buck a piece. Instead of saying, well, we're going to permanently change this redesign. And the thing is, it's actually already in some of the characters. Let me go find one. uh, I think the panda has what I'm looking for. Where are you? There you are, puffing. Ah, there we are, costume. Some of the characters do have costumes. Now, some of these costumes actually have different effects handed to them. And this is probably a brilliant idea if you have somebody who's really good at animation and rigging, maybe not so good at creating the rest of the game levels. They can just start making different costume variations. And now you give your players a better way. First of all, to finance your game, and second of all, to change up how they might implement different battles, such as going back and looking Poofing here. Poofing, Foodie Panda gives you damage dealt the weaker element +2. So so he's green, so damage dealt the blue, he would get +2%. You do more of these kinds of costumes that could be implemented into the game, and you open up more different strategies. Maybe even a costume that um, changes the player's element. So instead of being a purple, they would instead change costumes and then they would be a yellow. And again, they might have something of the same skill, but now they're doing a different elemental damage. And that's another way where you could still make some money and make advantage of a good art department while your other mm, developers who are very good in other areas can focus on the tech that they do. So that's where, but again, I'm not sure I don't know that much about the developers. I really don't. I don't know what country they're in. I don't know what their rent is like. I don't know what their power consumption is like. I don't know what it costs for them to live day to day. All I have is external metadata from my side where I see that they implemented advertising into a game that actually does have, if you go back and look at the market, we do have some decently price, $2.99, $4.99, $10 might be a little stretch for a mobile game, but you do have some quasi attractive pricing for a consumer who's playing the game occasionally. And I do think that their battle pass, for everything that you get in the battle pass, is probably well worth the. If we look at the cost chain, it's $10 for the base, $20 for the Grand Battle Pass, and that's probably worth it to a lot of players to get those premium rewards. Uh, and that really should be maybe where the focus of the game should be. And a suggestion that I made somewhere else, I don't even remember where, is one of the things you may notice when you first turn the game on, you get a bunch of different in-game pop-ups, not advertisement for other games, but in-game pop-ups for the current specials of the game. And my gut opinion is that if you buy the battle pass, you should probably not get those pop-ups. You shouldn't be sold anything else. And maybe if anything, you should be able to exchange currency that you bought in game for different items that are in the special offer. So instead of spending cash, you could spend your crystals or your in-game currency, and now you've got a reason for somebody to turn around and keep pumping money back into the battle pass. And another one to look at was they now offer a perk subscription. Well, roll that into the battle pass. You buy the battle pass or you put the battle pass on subscription, you get those perks as well. And you try to focus on, a lot of people might go $20 a month. Well, this is less than $1 a day. Sure, I can afford that. And they get a steady supply of gems, whatever, all of the bonuses in the premium battle pass. And they might go, hey, this is worth it. It doesn't address the balance issues. It doesn't address the broken matchmaking. And really, that's a completely separate issue that I'm not sure how to fix. And the reason I'm not sure how to fix it is because of how those categories are achieved. And there's an event coming up if we Tournament of Valor. And I'm in Master. I'm in Tournament Tier Master, Boss Level 150, Group 1, 200 players. And our information on here, when events start, the player tier and boss difficulty will be determined by the lowest level of the player's top 5 heroes. So my top 5 heroes are all 150. So I'm in the master level 121 to 150. Now, if I go back to my heroes, and okay, I've got I got 8. I have 9 characters that are level 150. None of those are a 5-star. Okay, some of them are 4 stars, but 8 characters that are level 150. All of my other characters are below that. So I may not actually have any characters that can compete in this Tournament of Valor because they're all under the minimum required power level of 121. They're all 120 or lower. So from my perspective, this tournament ranking is broken. It's not accounting for my total power or what characters I can realistically bring to the field. It's just counting my top 5 most powerful heroes. And likewise, I think that's also why the Alliance War is broken. It's it's not looking at the what you can actually bring to the field. It's looking at an extrapolation of various factors that may not necessarily be accurate. You may have a bunch of 100 level 180 characters, but if they're all 3 stars or 2-star, maybe 2-star caps are 150, but if they're all 3-star characters, you are not going to be able to field anything that can go up against a team that has level 200 5 stars. You're going to get your butt wiped. Give me a second to calm down. You are going to get rolled. You won't be able to get past that particular challenge because you won't have the characters that can do it. And the same way in Treacherous Seas, despite my relative power level, most of the players I'm up against, I don't have a chance against. I don't have the characters who have the capability to go up against the rest of the players in this tier. I can go up against some of them, and I might get lucky with draws and be able to take some down. But for the most part, I don't have the character range to really compete in this. And my only way out as a player is either to dump more money into the game to get more characters more quickly, or I just don't play. and that's really kind of broken. And that's something where if I were to call Aventia developers, I would focus more on the matchmaking, making sure that when you go up against a challenge, you go up against players who are at least within your same category, that are matched to the team that you are matched against. If the team you're fielding, uh, just break it down. So let's say you have a bunch of characters who have a power level over 40,000. But you go into a matchmaking where, even though you may have players, your characters may be over that, they will be limited to a 40,000 level for that event. And that way, a player character can say, "I want to be in the 3,500 to 4,000 range." And then you take the ability of players to just ramp up power level, power level, power level, and field something that no one else can beat, and you give players a chance to say, well, now technique actually matters. How I build my character, what my power selection is, what my character selection is, matters. Right now, it just doesn't, and that's broken. It's a very unpleasant experience to just go, I have no way of taking that down. What do you expect me to do in this bracket? I've got no characters that can compete. And again, it is the experience that is exposed to the player, and I'm hearing a lot of that in the alliance wars, where routinely players find themselves up against an alliance where they're the battle level might be identical, or very close. Like if we look at Alliance Hall, where we have our tier in our alliance power, where our alliance power is 7189787, and we might be up against somebody who has an alliance power of 7289 or 72 something. And you might go, oh, hey, you're very close together. Well, we have 48 to 50 players in our alliance. Well, what if we're going up against an alliance that only has 20 players? They have 20 players and they have near the same amount of power we do. That means that their average level, their average power, is twice that of ours. We go into a war against them, and they will win because we won't have any players that can compete against something that's literally twice as powerful. And that's some of the ways that this game is just completely broken. I don't know if you can read the text on what alliance I'm in, but yes, there is a reason for that. If I'm going to play an online game, I'm still going to make a political statement of some kind. Who didn't see that one coming? All right, so moving on. Was there anything else I really wanted to hit? Because I think I've hit all of the high points, and just how things rack up. It really begins to feel like a pay-to-win game. The only way that you can succeed in Call of Antia is just to dump loads of money onto the developers. There's the characters that I wouldn't have if I hadn't bought that battle pass. And if I was trying to have a go at this as someone just spending a $2 or so a month on this game, I probably would have stopped playing a long time ago, because I would have just gotten completely frustrated at where I was. Now, that being said, I like the concept. I really like the mechanical implementation of a lot of things Call of Antia does that are really good. But I find myself making the same kind of feedback that I made to puzzles and empires a very long time ago. When you're constructing a game, and I went into this in an earlier stream, first of all, consider an offline mode. How can the players proceed, make progress in your game? Can they experience your game without an internet connection? If they can't, maybe you need to re-architecture how your game works so that they can. Second of all, what happens if you come up with a new game concept and you decide to leave this game alone? You decide to move on to a new game. Are you still going